Let me tell you a story about two sisters from Palm Beach, Florida, Linda and Susan Schlesinger. And like with so many of the stories I share, you really can't make this stuff up. This story has everything: money, Palm Beach drama, a father who trusted the wrong person at the wrong time, and two daughters whose relationship would never ever be the same after what happened. So let's go back to where it all started. Their father, Dr. Robert Schlesinger, wasn't just any retiree in Florida. He was a wildly successful businessman, the kind of man who built something out of nothing, who planned meticulously, and who had accumulated a multi-million-dollar estate by the time he reached his later years. And like so many parents with two children, he wanted things to be fair. For decades, literally decades, his estate plan reflected that. Both girls were treated equally, equal shares, equal responsibilities, no favorites, no surprises. Everything was balanced. And that's why what happened next was so shocking. As Dr. Schlesinger got older, things started to shift. Slowly at first, then not so slowly, then rapidly. His health declined, his memory weakened, his independence slipped away. He relied more on the people around him: caregivers, nurses, and of course, his daughters. And this is where the story begins to fracture. Because late in life, very late in life, Dr. Schlesinger changed his entire estate plan. And I don't mean some little small tweaks, not a little update here or there. Beneficiaries, everything was changed. I mean, from the ground up. He went from leaving both daughters equal shares to leaving almost everything to one, Linda. Now imagine being the other daughter, Susan. You lived your entire life believing you were equal with your sister. Your father had always said it explicitly that the estate would be split 50-50. He always encouraged fairness from your childhood through your adulthood. He kept his documents consistent for years, and then suddenly, with no warning, you are literally written out. So what would you do? Some would roll over, some would fight. Susan, she chose to fight. That's exactly what she did. She challenged the trust in court, saying, "Listen, judge, my father, he would have never done this. Not in his right mind. Not intentionally. This was not his independent decision." She claimed that her sister Linda had isolated him, cut her out of the dad's life, and stopped her from calling, restricted her visits, and interfered with communication. And that when Dr. Schlesinger was at his most vulnerable, scared, confused, and dependent, Linda stepped in and rewrote the entire estate to benefit herself and her children. And when I tell you the courtroom testimony, it was some kind of different. The court heard from everyone: caregivers who had been in the home daily, nurses who administered his medication, financial advisors who had known him for years, attorneys who drafted earlier versions of the trust, family friends who watched the family dynamic change, and yes, even handwriting experts brought in to analyze signatures on the documents. Now, some caregivers testified that Dr. Schlesinger had moments of confusion and that he depended very heavily on Linda, that Linda controlled who he had access to, and sometimes it could be extreme. She shut out people that she did not want involved. People said that she intercepted phone calls or she made excuses for why her sister, Susan, could not visit. Nurses described him as frail, disoriented, and overwhelmed by information. Financial advisors testified that his previous estate plans were consistent over time, always equal, always fair, and that this sudden radical change late in life didn't quite match the man they had known for years. A handwriting expert testified that certain signatures on the new documents appeared inconsistent with earlier ones. Now, not enough to call them forgeries per se, but enough to raise red flags about whether the father fully participated. I mean, it got really messy and it was very emotional. And it was exactly the kind of family disaster that happens all the time in Florida. I mean, every day, every week in Florida, there are cases like this happening. And the judge had to answer one key question. Did Dr. Schlesinger change his estate plan freely? That's it. Was he influenced beyond reason? And this is where the legal lesson comes in, because the court found something very important. Dr. Schlesinger had been subject to undue influence. Now let's talk about what that means, because people often misunderstand what undue influence looks like. It's not always someone yelling at their parent and saying, if you don't do this, then I'm going to do this. It's not always threats. It's not always signing documents under pressure in one dramatic moment. Most of the time, it's slow, it's quiet, it's subtle. It actually looks like help. It looks like, oh, I'm just taking care of you, Dad, or it looks like love until it doesn't. Undue influence can look like someone saying, hey, Dad, don't worry, I got you, I'll take care of it. Or talking about the other sister, oh, she doesn't call you anymore, I'm the one who's here for you. Or saying things like, you're too tired for visitors today, Dad. Let's just rest, right? Trying to keep the other person out. Or she only comes around when she wants something, don't bother with her. Or simply being the only person present when decisions are made. Here's what I need you to understand. When someone is sick, when someone is elderly or dependent, even a small amount of pressure can override their free will. And that's what the judge found happened here. The judge ruled that Linda's involvement crossed the line from caring daughter to controlling gatekeeper, that she actively shaped or even replaced her father's intent with her own. So what did the judge do? He partially unwound the trust. Now, he did not give Susan everything she wanted, because the goal is not punishment, right? The goal is fairness, intent, restoring what Dr. Schlesinger would have wanted if left alone without manipulation. So the court rebalanced the estate so both daughters benefited, reflecting years of consistent planning, not one suspicious change made during his very last days or during his decline. So I want to pause here because I want to make sure that you walk away with something very practical. People come to my office all the time thinking that a trust is the fix-all. It's going to solve everything. That a trust guarantees privacy. That a trust completely avoids court and that it prevents fights. But here is the truth. A trust only works if the person signing it had mental capacity, was free from influence, understood what they were doing, was not isolated, was not dependent on one child to the point of vulnerability. The minute any of these are compromised, the trust becomes weak and a court can step in. And so this is why I tell my clients all the time, don't wait until your health or your parents' health declines to get your plans updated. Because if you wait too long, someone else may end up speaking louder than you do. This story is a prime example. 2 sisters, 1 father, and a lifetime of complicated family dynamics that boiled over in the moment I should say, that money entered the picture. And in the end, they didn't just fight over the trust. In fact, that wasn't the fight at all. They were fighting really over what their father wanted. They fought over who he loved or who he loved the most. They fought over whose version of the story should the court believe. Because that's what these cases really are about. They're not legal battles. They are emotional battles wrapped up in legal paperwork. They are attempts to protect what someone remembers as the truth. And unfortunately, the truth is often whatever the judge decides after he hears dozens of witnesses, hundreds of pages of documents, and years of tension laid bare in a courtroom. At the end of the day, this story is about trust, both literally and figuratively. Trust between parent and child, trust between siblings, trust that someone will honor your wishes, trust that your voice won't be drowned out when you're no longer strong enough to speak for yourself. And if you don't plan early, clearly, and transparently, your family may end up fighting not only over your money, but over your memory. If this story opened your eyes, go ahead and hit subscribe so you never miss another episode of You Can't Make This Stuff Up. And when you're ready to get serious about your own estate planning, download my free Florida estate planning checklist. It walks you through exactly what you need to know to protect your family before life gets messy. The link is in the description. I'm attorney Otto. Plan wisely, live confidently, and I'll see you next time.